All right, we're going to talk about form drawing today, and one of the things I wanted to show you first was it's really lovely for the crayons. You'll get I can kind of show you the difference you'll get in the result of the crayons if you have a softer surface. So a lot of teachers at our school will use these little vinyl mats. It's really just kind of like slightly bigger than the main lesson book pages and form drawing pages that we use. I have also seen folks will take like newspaper, and so they'll have several layers of newspaper and then tape the edges so it becomes kind of a drawing mat. We call this our drawing mat. And let me just take a moment and show the difference, the difference in the crayons that you can see. So if you have a softer surface underneath, we're going to get this really nice, try and show, and even when we use with the block crayons, we'll do more of this kind of a technique with our drawing. And it just is really soft but full. And then without the drawing mat, we have much more of a kind of a broken up shape here. And this effect, you just don't get it quite as rich. I don't know if you can see the difference. So you just have a lot of little white spaces that are left behind. You don't get kind of this full soft effect. And even with this, you just have more of those kind of white spaces when just using like as a stick crayon for the form drawing, which we're going to do. So something you could consider if you want to purchase a drawing mat. It's really nice, and it's really lovely experience for the children as well, like drawing on this mat. Just that little bit of give underneath. It's really lovely with the crayons. Okay, so when we are doing form drawing, one of the important things we want to do is we want to make sure that the children are sitting square to their work. So the work is like centered in front of them. They're not tilting it. Sometimes I've seen kids who will like move the paper instead of the crayon. And one of the things we are trying to work with the form drawing, particularly with handwriting and the letter formation that is coming, is being able to make all of these different shapes that we're going to be working on over the next 2 weeks. And to be able to sit and have them cross, we call it crossing the midline. It's when their arm literally goes across the center of their body and back. Can be really tricky for some kiddos. And so that's an important aspect of being kind of square with the paper and writing really carefully. We also just want to have kind of an attitude of like doing things as beautifully as possible. So when I lead a form drawing, let's say, let's just do the very first form drawing lesson of a line, a straight line, and a curved line. So you can kind of see that. You want them to move it in their bodies first. They can walk it. They might do it in the air. They might trace it in the air. They can do it with their whole arm. And then whenever I have them sit in front of a piece of form drawing paper, I always talk about we're going to find that shape on the paper with our finger before we do it with the crayon. And that's just really good practice. It gets in the repetitions. It helps them kind of feel confident before they get a crayon in their hands. And so let's say we're doing a straight line. We'll start at the top, and with like, and it seems like the most basic thing, but we're really with great care. We're going to trace our straight line. Do it a few times maybe. And then I'll use language where I'll say something like, when you feel like you've really found your line, go ahead and use your lemon yellow crayon to draw that line. I like lemon yellow just because it's light. It's usually not as dark as this actually. It's light, and if they mess up, they can just go over it. And try really hard not to use like extra pieces of paper for a mess up. We try and work with what we're working on. So they might do that a few times. And then once they're happy with it and maybe they want to do it in a different color, they could go over it in another color. And then we would do the same thing with a curved line. So this lesson's kind of an exception. Usually we only bring one kind of a form in one lesson. So if we're doing like the mountains or the zigzag, find it with their finger first after they've moved it with their body. It just really helps them find these shapes for the handwriting. And they're going to want to go fast. They're going to want to like make them go slow and careful. Have them try again. How beautifully can you do it? I use that language a lot, and it seems to work better than saying do your best. to say do it as beautifully as you can, they know what that means, and that it's something they want to try. So we have the curved line, and might do that a few times with the lemon yellow before going over it with another color. So that is the bulk of what we're doing this week. We're using the stick crayons, not the block crayons, for form drawing, because it helps them create that pencil grip, which we'll talk more about as the year goes on. And so holding the pencil more like the crayon, more like a pencil grip. I don't usually do a background on my form drawings. You can, but that technique of using the block crayons to kind of fill the backspace with color or doing a border, we will talk more about that when we get to kind of main lesson book pages. And so there's more to come on that. And for this week, I would say just you can keep it simple and just a plain piece of paper. Start with finding the shape with their finger, and then with the yellow crayon, and then a color they would like. And then they might want to, I've already done things to the back of this, but they might want to do more. And so maybe they could fill a whole page with straight lines and different colors and different sizes. And then they might want to fill another page with curved lines. And it's really interesting. What feels like such an incredibly simple basic lesson is actually pretty exciting for them. So that is kind of the basic intro to form drawing, how to bring it. I hope that helps more than just kind of the written explanation in the curriculum this week. And if you have a child who's having a particular struggle, so some children, I certainly had first graders that straight lines much easier than curved lines, or I had some where vertical was much easier, and some, for some reason, anything with a horizontal movement was really, really tricky. And so it just takes time, and just knowing like we're going to just keep that movement really large, and we're just going to be patient until that comes. But if you have specific things like that showing up for your kids, please shoot me an email, and we can maybe set up a meeting, chat more about it if this is something you're noticing coming up in your child a lot with the form drawing. So this really is foundation of handwriting, and we can see a lot of what's happening in their ability to move and to make these forms and letters. We can see it on a large scale with the form drawing. It's really, really helpful start to that world.